Get something. Hold it on a second. I've got something else.
Not a second.
It's going, it's going already.
Okay, good.
All right, it's working.
This week's Parsha of Shoftim, deals with a very fundamental issue of human behavior. We relegate it to judicial matters or matters of administration, but it applies all over life. It is really the dominant issue that affects our behavior and our attitudes. And that is the law in the Torah of lo sikach shochad, not to take bribery, graft. So the Torah describes this in terms of a court of justice, judges. Justice is supposed to be blind. It's not supposed to be influenced. So judges are forbidden to take shochad. The Gemara tells us a famous instance that the great Amora Mar Shmuel, who was the head of the yeshiva in Ardoa, that he was on the Bezdin, was one of the judges. And that morning in Ardoa, apparently there was a very narrow footbridge to cross over a canal, a river. And that morning he was walking in one direction and someone was walking in the other direction. And the person who was walking saw that Mar Shmuel was walking against him. So naturally, he, out of respect, he made way so that Mar Shmuel would be able to pass first. Later on, the man came for judgment at the Bezdin that Mar Shmuel was a member of, and Mar Shmuel disqualified himself because he said, it's impossible that I should not have been influenced by the courtesy that the person extended to me. And therefore, that's a form of shochad. Now, whether that's the official form of shochad that the Torah holds judges to be liable for, apparently not. That's like a midas chasidus. It's an act of piety, but it is illustrative of the fact that shochad is present in many forms, and all of us are affected by it, whether we are judges or not. We have different forms of shochad. One is preconceived ideas or ideals that we have. We made up our mind regarding certain issues and certain people. This is certainly true in the realm of politics and the public domain, but it applies in every facet of life. In Spain, in the time of the Shmuel Hanagid, who was the Jewish prime minister of Spain, and who was a great Talmud Chacham, and was a general in the Spanish army. It's hard for us to wrap our minds around such people. But when he had the Bezdin, in Granada, so the Bezdin had a uniform that all of the litigants who came before it had to wear. Everybody had to be dressed exactly the same. Because we know from our experience, when you see how a person is dressed, so you make up your mind about that person. Either favorably or sometimes unfavorably. When I went to law school, I took courses in evidence and in trial preparation, etc. So part of the course was how to instruct your clients how to dress when they appear before a jury or before a judge. So you want them to wear a nice suit, but not an expensive suit. You want them to wear a decent tie, but not too colorful a tie. And those were courses in law school. I mean, if you think about it, they're courses in Shochet, because of the impression that we wish to make, having nothing to do with the rudiments or fairness of the case that's involved. So in the time of Shmuel Hanagid in Spain, everybody wore the same suit, so that there would not be an influence. I knew Rabbonim that when they had to sit on the Din Torah, they did not face the litigants because they didn't want to see who they were. But on the other hand, and that's what makes it so difficult, on the other hand, the Gemara points out that judges have to be aware of the body language of witnesses and of the litigants. You can tell when he's lying. You can tell when he's not telling the truth. So it was a very, very elastic situation. And it's because of that situation that Halacha and Choshen Mishpat is, and it's the policy that exists until today, is that we don't necessarily participate in a true din Torah, but rather we appear before judges who are arbitrators, who mediate between the parties, who bring about a pshara, a compromise. Now, the wonderful thing about a compromise is that no one is happy. Both sides feel that they lose, even though in reality, both sides have gained. But the nature of human beings is not to view it that way. So then it's called a shtar birur. We are just trying to clarify the matter to come to a reasonable settlement. We're not telling you that this is the din. We're telling you, Ruvain, pay Shimon 500 shekel. Not because al pi din, you have to pay him 500 shekel. We haven't heard or decided that matter. But because as a matter of shura, as a matter of compromise, as a matter of social niceties, this is what you should do to settle the matter. So that's an entirely different viewpoint of the matter. The Torah says in the Parsha, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. You should pursue justice. It's repeated twice. The Gemara says that the means of justice also have to be tzedek, have to be just. There is no end that justifies means that are not just. But the Meforshim all explain tirdof. It's a pursuit. You never catch up to it. Because ultimate tzedek is beyond human life. And therefore we say, tzidchoscha tzedek leolam. Only the Ribono Shel Olam's justice has the ring of authenticity and eternity to it. Our systems are always compromised by our own shochad. And we take shochad every day. We take it from ourselves. This is my policy. This is the way I am. I can never be friends with someone that doesn't hold my opinion. And that leads to all the forms of strife that we are witness to, that are part of society, that have been part of society from the beginning. The Meforshim say, Avram Avinu Kaviochel said to the Ribono Shel Olam, Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat. Avram Avinu is talking about Zdom. Now, if anyone is entitled to have an opinion about Zdom, it's Avram Avinu. Because Zdom is the antithesis of everything that he is. Avram Avinu is machnes orchim, and Zdom, you go to jail for it. Avram Avinu helps people. Zdom, you're not allowed to help people. And the sins of Zdom are so enormous. Sakas, Zdom v'amora, ki rabbi, I hear God said I cannot hear it anymore. So how does Avram Avinu say to him, Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat? So the Meforshim point out, it says by the Ribono Shel Olam in the Parsha that the Ribono Shel Olam ki lo yikach shochad. The Ribono Shel Olam doesn't accept shochad. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? He doesn't accept what he. How can you give the Ribono Shel Olam shochad? So the Gemara says shochad mitzvahs. You bribe him by doing mitzvahs. You want to get on his good side. So he wants you to put on film that I put on film. He wants you to be a Shomer Shabbos. I'm a Shomer Shabbos. But I'm going to do it with an ulterior motive. That because of that, if I have to be judged, I'll be judged favorably. So the Torah tells us the Ribono Shel Olam doesn't accept shochad. Avram Avinu argued, Hashofet kol haaretz lo yaseh mishpat. You're making a generalization. Maybe there's 50, 40, 30, 20, 10 people. What about them? So in that, the Ribono Shel Olam Kaviyachol listens to him because accepting generalities is also a form of shocha. So the Ribono Shel Olam doesn't accept generalities, even when it comes to Zdom. So we see the rigorous definition here of what influences us in life. And it's inescapable because we're human. But there has to always be a realization that somehow it's present. And if there is such a realization, then it's tempered, it's moderate. And then a pshora can be arrived at, and life can continue in a much more serene way. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer Ratzah Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakus Es Yisrael Leficha Chir B'Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar Adonai Chavesh Mamshakol Yagil Torah V'Yadeh.